More ancient history jewelry stories. We've been talking about a lot of looted and stolen pre-Columbian gold recently, and this past Tiara Tuesday was a real bummer, where we talked about the crown of the Andes and how it was crafted by the Spanish Catholic Church from melted down, stolen pre-Columbian gold and emeralds. I thought we all deserved some unlooted pre-Columbian gold as a little treat. I don't know why I have such a love for crustaceans and shellfish and jewelry. I don't even eat seafood. But I do love insect jewelry, and crustaceans are just the bugs of the ocean, so I suppose it makes sense. Today we have these two beautiful and, dare I say, adorable lobster pendants. These both come from Costa Rica, and they are held in the collection of the Gold Museum in Costa Rica. It's so rare that we get to see these pieces in their country of origin. Unfortunately, one slightly frustrating thing about them being in the Gold Museum in Costa Rica is that their website does not have a thorough online collection for me to search, so I don't actually have very much information about them. But I do know some things about pre-Columbian gold that I think we can apply to these lobsters. These were found on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, just above the Panama border, and based on the location they were found and the approximate time when they were made, around 700 AD, I'm going to assume that these would have been made by the Diquis people. The Diquis ranged from southern Costa Rica through Panama and would have populated the area where these lobsters were found. Let's take a look at the first one, the slightly larger lobster. It's a pretty wonderful naturalistic representation of a lobster, but if we look a little bit closer at the head, we'll see that it actually has a crocodile mouth. You see this combining of animals throughout many pre-Columbian cultures. We've seen it with some of the moche pieces from Peru, and you see it in Mayan, Mixtec, and Mexica pieces as well. Based on the small portion of gold missing at the bottom of the tail, I can assume that this piece would have been made using the lost wax casting method, and that small flaw is where gold didn't flow all the way into the edges of the mold. Now let's move over to the little lobster friend. While the first lobster didn't have much information online, this piece has even less. In fact, this often only shows up in group pictures with the bigger lobster. It was really hard for me to find a photo of it by itself. One thing that I think is interesting is that it's a much rosier shade of gold than the larger lobster. That means that this gold alloy would have had a higher copper concentration, turning it a little bit pinker. It's essentially a rose gold lobster. The Diquis people, much like many other Mesoamerican and Andean civilizations, used a technique called depletion gilding, where they would repeatedly heat up their pieces and then submerge them in an acidic solution, and this would eat away at the copper on the surface, leaving only a layer of pure fine gold. This is still practiced today. In fact, it happens to me by accident when I'm working on my pieces quite often. This is a really unique feature of later pre-Columbian gold artifacts. They were made with an alloy of copper, gold, and silver that's called tumbaga, which sometimes contained no more than 25 or 30% gold. But this process of depletion gilding created the look of high-value, high-carat gold without needing as much of the material. While it's frustrating that I don't have any more information about these pieces, aside from the fact that they are pendants, they are lobsters, and they are wonderful, they're beautiful works of art, and they really speak to the level of craftsmanship and skill that was present before that asshole Columbus came around. And I guess this can be the official PSA that I'm only ever going to refer to him as that asshole Columbus going forward.